In a far-off galaxy, the Zoglorian Zoo was the pride of the universe, renowned for its diverse collection of creatures from countless planets. The zoo's director, Larnock, took immense pride in showcasing the most exotic and fascinating beings to curious visitors. One day, Larnock received a new addition, a human named Jake. Jake was an ordinary man from Earth, but to the aliens, he was a unique specimen. Larnock greeted him with a mix of curiosity and formality. "Welcome to Zoglorian Zoo, Jake. You'll be an interesting exhibit for our visitors," Larnock said, his voice resonating with authority. Jake, however, was unfazed. With a broad grin, he replied, "Interesting? I'm more than interesting. I'll be the best exhibit you've ever had." Larnock was taken aback by Jake's confidence, but decided to observe. Jake was placed in a habitat designed to mimic Earth, complete with lush greenery, a small pond, and a cozy little hut. As visitors gathered around, Jake began to perform. He started by juggling alien fruits, much to the amusement of the crowd. Then, he mimicked animal sounds from Earth, causing the alien children to giggle. Finally, he told jokes, his expressions and gestures so animated that the visitors couldn't help but laugh. "What is he doing?" one visitor asked, bewildered. "I think he's entertaining," another replied, equally puzzled. Jake's antics soon had the crowd in stitches. Even the stern Larnock couldn't help but chuckle. He observed Jake closely, intrigued by the human's ability to connect with the audience so effortlessly. "Perhaps humans have a different way of survival," Larnock mused. "Let's see how this goes." Days turned into weeks, and Jake's popularity soared. He wasn't just an exhibit, he was a sensation. He started teaching the alien visitors Earth games like hopscotch and tag. "Jake, teach us more Earth games," an alien child exclaimed, eyes wide with excitement. "All right, let's play hide and seek." Jake responded enthusiastically, spreading his infectious energy. Jake's playfulness brought joy, but it also caused chaos. The animals in the zoo began mimicking Jake, much to the confusion of the zookeepers. Even the normally serious Zoglorian guards found themselves playing pranks on each other, unable to resist the jovial atmosphere Jake had created. "Gotcha," one guard exclaimed, catching his colleague off guard. "Oh no, not again," the other replied, both laughing heartily. Larnock noticed the shift and grew concerned. While the visitors loved Jake, the zoo was becoming a playground, not the educational space it was meant to be. "Jake, your influence is spreading. This is not what we expected," Larnock said, his tone serious. Jake, still smiling, replied, "I'm just making things fun." As the Zoglorian Zoo basked in its newfound joy, Larnock wondered if Jake's presence was a blessing or a curse. As the days passed, Jake's influence at the Zoglorian Zoo continued to grow. His cheerful nature and boundless energy had turned the once serious establishment into a place of laughter and fun. However, not everyone saw this change in a positive light. One afternoon, Jake introduced a new game to the alien children visiting the zoo. "All right, kids, today we're going to play a game called Simon Says," he announced with a wide grin. The children eagerly gathered around, their eyes gleaming with excitement. "Simon Says, touch your nose," Jake commanded, and the children quickly followed suit. Laughter echoed through the zoo as they continued playing. Meanwhile, in the staff quarters, the Zoglorian zookeepers were having the meeting. Larnock stood at the head of the table, looking stern. "This is getting out of hand," he said, tapping his fingers on the table. Jake's influence is spreading beyond the visitors. Even the staff and animals are affected. One of the senior zookeepers, Zoltar, nodded in agreement. "I've seen the animals mimicking his actions. It's causing chaos. Yesterday, the Ragnorian reptiles were trying to juggle rocks." Larnock sighed. "And it's not just the animals. The guards are playing pranks on each other instead of doing their duties. Our zoo is turning into a circus." Back in his habitat, Jake was oblivious to the growing concerns. He was teaching a group of alien children how to play hopscotch. "It's easy. Just jump from one square to the next," he explained, demonstrating with enthusiasm. The children laughed and followed his lead. But as the games continued, the animals in nearby enclosures began to mimic the children. A group of klaxon monkeys started hopping around their enclosure, trying to imitate the game. At that moment, Larnock arrived to observe. He watched as the children and animals played together, creating a scene of utter chaos. "This is not what we envisioned for the zoo," he muttered to himself. As the day ended, Larnock approached Jake. "Jake, we need to talk," he said, trying to keep his tone calm. "Sure, Larnock. What's up?" Jake replied, still cheerful. "We'd appreciate your efforts to entertain the visitors, but your influence is disrupting the zoo's operations. The animals and staff are not behaving as they should," Larnock explained. Jake frowned slightly. "I'm just trying to make things fun for everyone. Isn't that a good thing?" Larnock sighed. "Fun is good, but we must maintain order. The zoo's purpose is to educate and preserve, not to become a playground." Jake nodded slowly, realizing the gravity of the situation. "I understand. I'll try to tone it down," he promised. But deep down, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that he was meant to bring joy to this place. As he walked back to his habitat, he wondered how he could balance fun and order, hoping to find a solution that would make everyone happy. In the year 2250, humanity had spread across the galaxy, establishing colonies on distant planets. The United Earth Fleet, UEF, patrolled the stars, ensuring the safety of human territories. Lieutenant Elizabeth Connors, a skilled pilot, was part of a routine patrol near the edge of human space when her ship picked up a distress signal. "Command, this is Lieutenant Connors," Elizabeth radioed in. "I've received a distress signal from Sector 14. Requesting permission to investigate." "Permission granted, Lieutenant. Proceed with caution," came the reply. Elizabeth followed the signal to a barren planet. As she landed, she saw a crashed alien ship, unlike any she had seen before. Approaching the wreckage, she found an alien soldier, barely conscious and severely injured. His skin was a deep blue, and his eyes glowed with a faint golden light. "Help, please," the alien whispered. Elizabeth hesitated, but then made a decision. She carried the alien to her ship and administered first aid. "You're safe now," she assured him. "I'll take you to a medical facility." The alien, named Henry, recovered quickly under Elizabeth's care. He explained that he was part of the Zarkan Empire, which had been at war with another alien race, the Krall. His ship had been ambushed, and he was the sole survivor. "Thank you for saving me," Henry said, his voice filled with gratitude. "I owe you my life." "We're not so different," Elizabeth replied. "We'd all just want to survive." As they talked, a bond began to form between them. Elizabeth learned that the Zarkans were an honorable people, fighting to protect their territories from the ruthless Krall. Henry, in turn, was impressed by Elizabeth's bravery and kindness. One evening, while they were repairing Henry's ship, Elizabeth received an urgent message from the UEF. "Lieutenant Connors, we've detected a Krall fleet heading towards Earth. All available ships are to mobilize immediately." "We need to stop them," Elizabeth said, turning to Henry. "Would you help us?" Henry nodded. "The Krall are a threat to us all. I'll fight with you." Elizabeth and Henry returned to the UEF base, where Henry was introduced to the command team. Despite initial mistrust, his knowledge of Krall tactics proved invaluable. "We need to hit them before they reach Earth," Henry advised. "Their fleet will be vulnerable during the jump through hyperspace." The UEF commanders agreed and began preparing for the battle. Elizabeth and Henry worked together to plan the attack, spending long hours in the strategy room. "Are you ready for this?" Elizabeth asked Henry one night as they looked over the battle plans. "I am," Henry replied, "for you, for my people, and for the future." As they stood there, the tension between them gave way to something deeper. They shared a brief, intense moment, realizing that their connection had grown stronger than mere friendship. The day after the Zoglorians' victory, the atmosphere at the zoo was electric. Visitors and staff celebrated the unexpected triumph, attributing it to Jake's innovative and humorous tactics. However, Larnock was preoccupied with the zoo's future. That morning, Jake decided to explore more of the zoo, hoping to come up with a plan to restore balance. He wandered into a secluded area and found a group of young aliens practicing combat moves, clearly inspired by his teachings. "Hey, kids! Practicing for the next war already?" Jake joked, causing the group to laugh. One of the young aliens, a girl named Lyra, looked up at Jake with wide eyes. "Jake, can you teach us more of your Earth combat moves? We want to be as strong and funny as you." Jake smiled, but his heart was heavy. "Sure, but remember, it's not just about being strong or funny. It's about knowing when to be serious too." As Jake continued teaching the young aliens, Larnock watched from a distance, deep in thought. The joy Jake brought was undeniable, but so was the disruption. Larnock knew he had to make a difficult decision. That evening, Larnock called a meeting with the senior staff. We need to address the situation with Jake. His influence has brought both positive and negative changes. We must decide what is best for the zoo. Zoltar, the senior zookeeper, spoke up. Jake has brought laughter and a new spirit to the zoo, but we can't ignore the chaos. The animals are behaving unpredictably, and the staff is distracted. Larnock nodded. Agreed. While the visitors love Jake, our primary goal is to educate and preserve. We need a solution that maintains the balance. After much deliberation, the staff reached a consensus. They would hold a farewell ceremony for Jake, celebrating his contributions while gently explaining why he must leave. The next day, Larnock approached Jake with a solemn expression. Jake, we've decided to hold a special ceremony in your honor. You've brought so much joy to us, but it's time for you to move on. Jake's heart sank, but he managed a small smile. I understand, Larnock. I never wanted to cause trouble. I'll miss everyone here. The farewell ceremony was a grand event. Visitors, staff, and even the animals gathered to bid Jake goodbye. There were speeches, performances, and heartfelt goodbyes. Lyra, the young alien girl, approached Jake with tears in her eyes. Jake, we'll never forget you. Thank you for everything, she said, hugging him tightly. Jake smiled warmly, trying to hold back his own tears. I'll never forget you either, Lyra. Keep practicing, and remember to always find joy in everything you do. As the ceremony ended, Jake stood at the gates of the zoo, looking back one last time. The Zoglorians had given him a parting gift, a small portable holographic projector filled with recordings of his time at the zoo. Larnock placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. You've left a lasting impact, Jake. We'll always remember you. With a final wave, Jake stepped out of the Zoglorian zoo, ready to find his next adventure. As he walked away, he felt a sense of accomplishment, knowing that he had brought laughter and unity to a place that needed it. Jake stepped out of the Zoglorian zoo, feeling a mix of sadness and hope. He had left a mark on the zoo, but now it was time to move on. As he wandered through the bustling spaceport, he couldn't help but reminisce about the laughter and friendships he had fostered. Back at the zoo, life slowly returned to normal. Larnock and his staff worked diligently to restore the educational and orderly atmosphere. The animals, although occasionally slipping into playful antics learned from Jake, gradually resumed their natural behaviors. The visitors, while missing Jake's humor, began to appreciate the zoo's original purpose again. Meanwhile, Jake found himself on a new planet, filled with curiosity and excitement. He had decided to visit a place known for its rich history and diverse cultures. As he explored the alien city, he couldn't help but spread his infectious humor and charm. People were drawn to him, and soon he had a new group of friends, eager to learn about Earth and its customs. One day, while sharing stories at a local market, Jake heard a familiar voice. Jake, is that really you? He turned to see Captain Thrak, the Zoglorian warrior, standing there with a broad grin. Thrak, what are you doing here? Jake exclaimed, rushing over to his friend. I've been assigned to a peacekeeping mission here, Thrak explained. It's good to see you, my friend. The zoo isn't the same without you. Jake laughed. I bet. How's everyone back at the zoo? They miss you, of course, but things have settled down. Larnock has everything under control again, Thrak replied. As they caught up, Jake shared his adventures on the new planet. Thrak was amazed at how quickly Jake had adapted and made friends. You truly have a gift, Jake. Everywhere you go, you bring people together. Jake smiled. I just try to make things a bit brighter. That's all. Back at the Zoglorian Zoo, Larnock stood in front of a newly installed exhibit. It was a tribute to Jake, featuring holograms of his antics, his teachings, and the joy he had brought. Visitors gathered around, laughing and reminiscing. Lyra, the young alien girl, stood at the front, tears of joy in her eyes. Jake may be gone, but his spirit lives on here, she said softly. Larnock nodded. Indeed, he taught us that even in the most serious of places, there's always room for a little laughter. The zoo had found its balance again. It remained a place of education and preservation, but with a newfound appreciation for the joy and unity Jake had brought. The staff and visitors alike carried the lessons Jake had taught them, finding ways to incorporate humor and camaraderie into their daily lives. As for Jake, his adventures continued. He traveled from planet to planet, leaving a trail of laughter and friendship in his wake. He knew that his time at the Zolglorian Zoo had changed him too. He had learned the importance of balance, of knowing when to be serious and when to laugh. In the end, Jake's journey was just beginning. He had many more worlds to explore, many more hearts to touch. And as he looked up at the stars, he knew that no matter where he went, he would always carry a piece of the Zolglorian Zoo with him. "Here's to new adventures," Jake said, raising an imaginary glass to the sky, "and to always finding the joy in every moment." And with that, Jake set off on his next adventure, ready to bring a little more laughter to the universe.